Hey everyone, how's it going? It's a late Friday night, but we are here to talk about WWE Smackdown with SummerSlam just over a week away. Plus, we have the premiere edition of AEW Rampage to discuss. A lot to digest, very eventful night of wrestling. Shout out to Matt Helms who sent in a $5 super chat, said how I'm doing. I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about these two shows. And unlike Monday nights, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty excited and hyped. So let's get right to it. And Ryan, same thing. Let me start off by saying that if you live in Michigan, you had trouble watching SmackDown tonight, as did I. They had a Lions game, a Detroit Lions game on. SmackDown was preempted, so I had to go to one of those websites where you get the illegal streams so I could cover SmackDown for this live stream. Anyways, let's get to SmackDown. We kicked off with a John Cena promo in the ring. It was advertised that there would be a face-off between Cena and Reigns. Cena talked by himself in the ring first. He had a report card for Roman Reigns since kids are going back to school. Reigns, his grade was a D, below average. Cena said that Reigns is a D head, a D bag, and the biggest D of them all, a disappointment. He said at SummerSlam he's going to give Reigns an F. Crowd was very much into Cena, and then Reigns showed up. We had the first commercial break, and when we came back, we had Cena and Reigns in the ring. Lengthy opening segment here between Cena's first part and then the second part with Cena and Reigns. So anyways, after the commercial break, Cena said that Roman thinks he's above everyone else. Cena is there to shut up Reigns, said that they, the fans, wanted Cena back, and he said he is going to serve Reigns a piece of humble pie at SummerSlam. Cena asked the fans if they were on Team Reigns or Team Cena. Crowd was more or less Team Cena. And then Reigns responded by saying, once again, John Cena just doing the same old thing, making the penis jokes. And Reigns wanted Cena to hit him with some original stuff. Cena said, yeah, Reigns is going to beat Cena's ass. It's going to be spear, big punch, spear, big punch. Cena said he can take all that. All he needs to do is pin Reigns. 1, 2, 3. To make history and become a 17-time world champion. Reigns responded by saying, unlike Cena, he doesn't need to bury his opponents. He put over Cena. He said Cena is good enough to win the WWE title, but not the Universal title. That was a nice little dig at Bobby Lashley. Maybe we'll get Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley at Survivor Series, and they can reference this promo. Then things really got heated up because Reigns said that, yeah, Cena might be fine and dandy with 20 plus years of missionary position, but was not good enough for Nikki Bella. This was a great line, crowd oohed and awed, and then Cena had to fire back, saying that Reigns has been protected by the Shield, almost ruined Seth Rollins, and Cena said that Reigns ran Dean Ambrose out of WWE. And then Cena continued, saying that Reigns has been protected by Paul Heyman and the Usos, needs to be embarrassed. And again, all it will take is 1, 2, 3, and Reigns will be the biggest failure in WWE history. And just a trivia question, the guy that lost to Cena, giving Cena his 17th world title. And then to finish it off, Cena said when he wins the title, he's going to run out of the building, he's going to jump the barricade, but right before he leaves, he might even blow a kiss goodbye to Roman Reigns, which of course is a reference to Money in the Bank 2011 when CM Punk won the title, and he started to leave through the fans, climbed over the barricade, and blew Vince McMahon a kiss. A very iconic image from that pay-per-view, and Cena referenced that. And then said at SummerSlam, the champ will be gone. 1, 2, 3. This was a great segment. Definitely what they needed to get people hyped up for this match and have some smack talk on this show. It is Smackdown. So big thumbs up for this. I enjoyed the little digs, like the line about Nikki Bella, and of course the Dean Ambrose line, the CM Punk reference. Really good stuff here from these guys. Walter Cruz with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, D references, Bella references, Ambrose, whoa, Cena and Reigns really aren't scripted. Also, will Corbin repeat the Michaels JBL story from a few years ago? Okay, so I know we all enjoyed this, but let's be clear that these guys, they're going over this before they go out there. But the fact that people question it and wonder if it was scripted or not, then you know they're doing their job well. But you know they're not going out there and saying things without the other guy's consent. We had our first match of the evening, which was for the Intercontinental Championship, Apollo Crews versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And the dead giveaway that we were going to get a title change was no intro for the champion. The champion doesn't even get an introduction. I mean, that's a very bad sign right there. And early on in the match, General Aziz got involved. He was distracting Nakamura, and then Rick Boogs started distracting Crews by playing on the guitar. So the referee kicked both of them out. At this point, I'm feeling even more confident that Nakamura is winning the title when they're not going to do an interference finish. And after the break, it went back and forth here. Apollo went for a big splash, but Nakamura got his knees up. Crews was able to counter the Kinshasa and went for a pin, put his feet on the ropes, but Nakamura still kicked out. And then Nakamura hit a big suplex and then finished off Crews with the Kinshasa. 1, 2, 3 to become the new Intercontinental Champion. And after the match, Rick Boogs came down to celebrate. Pat McAfee was very happy. Fun moment here. Pyro went off. They went all out for the victory celebration. You know, I love the pyro because it makes the title change feel like it's important. So really good stuff here. Now, to get to the super chats, Psycho Jet Black with $2 says, is Apollo Crews getting released by WWE? I hope not, but it's not looking good for him. I mean, the gimmick pretty much bombed. I think it's safe to say that that gimmick did not work out. Like, the heel turn was great, but they kind of ruined it with the accent and having the giant spear. Like, it could have been a lot better. And at this point, I don't know what they're going to do with him, but would not shock me if he's back in catering and not really doing much of anything. Happy for Nakamura getting a renewed push in WWE. But I still see people complaining, saying like Nakamura should be world champion and all this stuff. You know what? The guy is a veteran. He's been around a long time. He's doing well. He's having a really good run in WWE. And I don't think people need to complain about Nakamura. I think that he's in a good spot in the company right now. He's on TV every week. He won the crown. He won the IC title. Fans love him. He's doing well. They could still do Nakamura versus Reigns at some point, and I would not mind that as a one-off pay-per-view match. Detective Mocha with a $2 super chat says, what if CM Punk appears in WWE and not AEW? Highly, highly unlikely in all likelihood. I will just say that. Walter says, Aaron, it's Friday the 13th. Wrong person on your shirt, LOL. Well, I do not have a Jason shirt at the moment, so had to go with the next best thing for the occasion. Anyways, happy Friday the 13th to everybody out there. We had the Street Profits cut a backstage promo. Montez Ford is 100% recovered, and they were excited to get their hands on the Alpha Academy. And we had a match between the two teams. Pretty standard, not much to say about it. Montez Ford did a big dive over the top onto Otis, taking him out of the equation. And then back in the ring, Dawkins pinned Gable with a corkscrew neck breaker. I'm fairly certain we're going to see the Street Profits go for the tag titles, which makes the Smackdown tag team titles match easier to predict for SummerSlam because, well, I don't see faces versus faces. I have a feeling the Usos will retain at SummerSlam, but we'll get to the predictions next week, and I will talk more about it then. Seth Rollins was backstage in the production truck, and we got a little Kevin Dunn cameo in the background. Rollins was yelling at them to make sure that they show his footage. He went to the ring. He said that Edge was not there. Crowd chanted, "We want Edge." Rollins said he wants Edge too, but then said that he has video proof that he's better than Edge. And he showed this propaganda comparing the two of them. Edge was in the Brood while Rollins was the leader of the Shield. And Edge did have the first Money in the Bank cash-in, but Rollins had an even better one at WrestleMania. And it ended with the narrator saying that Edge will always be beneath Rollins. And Rollins said that Edge should actually be thanking him for not ending his career 7 years ago during that Peep Show segment when Rollins could have curb stomped Edge and ended him for good. Rollins said because he showed some mercy, Edge was able to make his big comeback, win the Royal Rumble, be in the main event of WrestleMania, and now have a dream match against Rollins. And said at SummerSlam he will not hesitate to stomp Edge's head in the mat. We then had Rey Mysterio with Dominik backstage and telling Dominik to stay hungry, don't get overconfident. We had the Mysterios versus Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, and the Usos ended up appearing on the big screen trying to distract Dominik, and it was working, but then Rey told Dominik to pay attention. Dominik regained his composure, and then Dominik, with a roll-through, pinned Bobby Roode. The Mysterios building up some momentum. As Michael Wayne says, Rey is a smart babyface. That's right. He's a veteran. He's passing on the knowledge to his son, who's a little green, a little wet behind the ears. Got to smarten him up. So good stuff here to set up the SummerSlam match. And then we had Baron Corbin arrive. And he came to the ring for a last plea. He said the people have been trying to keep him down. What he wants from them is a minimum of $1,000 per person. He even brought a credit card scanner with an iPhone. As it turns out later, Michael Cole said that on commentary, he said that Corbin got the phone from his mother and it was part of her cell phone plan. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, would Bobby Roode get pushed if he was younger? Maybe, maybe not. Hard to say with Bobby Roode. Like, I like the guy. He's fundamentally sound in the ring, but not the most charismatic guy. It's a tough call. Anyways, back to this segment with Corbin. Kevin Owens interrupted. He said he's tired of this crap. And he basically said that if Corbin beats him in a match, he will give Corbin $1,000 cash. And Corbin agreed to the terms because if Owens won, Corbin would have to stop begging people for help. Corbin, however, started to call Owens a cheap piece of... But before he could finish that sentence, he got hit with a stunner. And after the break, we had our match. Back and forth here between the two of them. Owens hit a swanton, got a near fall, and then Corbin with the deep six got a near fall. Corbin tried to cheat with his feet on the ropes, but Owens kicked out. And then Owens with a sunset flip turned it into a pinfall and scored the victory over Corbin, which now means that Corbin can no longer beg for money. And after the match, Owens gave him a stunner for good measure. Backstage, Corbin was distraught, and he ended up running over by Big E, who was at a merchandise table. Big E had his Money in the Bank briefcase there, and Corbin snatched it from him. Now, I'm wondering, was that a replica Money in the Bank briefcase, and then the joke's going to be on Corbin next week, or did he actually steal it, and he's going to try to cash it in or put it on eBay or something? I'm curious to see where this goes. It could go either way. But yeah, fun stuff here with Corbin. I'm enjoying this storyline. It's very entertaining. And I'm curious to see what's next from these guys. We then had our final segment of the show, which was a contract signing. I hate to do this, but let her grade down for these contract signings. I mean, we just had one a couple weeks ago. They showed it in the recap, a contract signing. So anyways, Bianca said Sasha Banks is jealous and she should have known better not to trust Sasha. If Sasha wanted a match, all she had to do was ask. Sasha started snapping back, told Bianca to get real, bitch. And then at this point, Sonya Deville got angry, said, I don't want these things. These things always happen during contract signings. And my thought is, well, if you're in storyline, if you're one of the people in charge, like Adam Pearce or Sonya Deville, why are you even making these contract signing segments? You don't want the chaos. You know there's always chaos, so why do you produce the stupid segments? Seriously. Anyways, Sasha Banks, before she was going to sign the contracts, she said she needs a witness. And she brought out Carmella and Zelina Vega, said she's always 2 steps ahead of the rookie. And I thought Bianca was going to bring out maybe Shotzi and Tegan Nox to even the odds, saying, well, I was thinking 1 step ahead of you, actually. But no, Bianca did not have any backup. She has no friends in the locker room. She threw the contract at Sasha, tried to attack them, but she got overwhelmed, got beat down. Sasha held up the championship and then used her hair, used Bianca's own hair to use the bank statement. And nobody came to help Bianca Belair. She has no friends in the locker room. No Tegan or Shotzi or Toni Storm. Where's Toni Storm, by the way? Psycho Jet Black just said it in the chat. Like, yeah, I think that this last segment was a little weak, in my opinion. Other than that, the show was very solid. The opening stuff with Roman Reigns and John Cena was great. I'm probably going to go with a B+ for this show. Again, it's the contract signing that brought it down. Otherwise, I think that this was a really good SmackDown. Maybe the best one since the fans came back. Really good show overall. Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat says, how can I get on a Thursday review video? Well, let No DQ Virtue know that you want to be part of the No DQ review. He's the one that puts the panels together. So run it by him, and I'm definitely open to it. Matt Helms and MVP Kev and the Game is on 100 give it a B+. Darren says the beginning gets an A+. CC Drink with an A-. Maud W with a B-. And Darren says the ending is a C-. Yeah, ending brought it down for me, and Sasha using the bitch word doesn't save it for me. It was pretty weak. All right, so now we move on to the premiere of AEW Rampage. We had a 4-person commentary team: Excalibur, Taz, Chris Jericho, and Mark Henry. I'm sure Mark Henry's a great guy, but he's not needed on commentary. The other 3 guys had a lot of enthusiasm and energy, and Mark Henry was just kind of subdued. He was not in the last match, and the commentary was noticeably improved. So I think Mark Henry, if they want to use him on the show, let him do the backstage stuff, but keep it max 3 people on commentary. One of the few criticisms of the show, I mean, overall, it was a really fun, fast-paced hour, flew by very quickly. The first match was Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage for the Impact Wrestling World title. Omega had all of his titles. Crowd was very hot, chanting for AEW when the bell rang. Christian flipped off Omega, Taz did make a mistake on commentary. He called it the TNA title instead of the Impact Wrestling title, which I thought was amusing. Don Callis was interfering. He was distracting Christian, giving Omega the advantage, but Christian was able to get back in it. You had several wrestlers watching at ringside. Orange Cassidy was there, Chris Statlander, and so forth. Omega hit a V-trigger, but Christian kicked out of that. And then Omega went for another V-trigger, but missed, hit the ring post. And then Christian hit a spear, got a near fall. Then he went for a frog splash. He hit that, but again, Omega kicked out. And then Callis, feeling frustrated, scared that his man was going to lose, got on the apron. Omega hit the low blow when the referee wasn't looking. And then that's when the Young Bucks arrived. They brought in a steel chair. Omega was going to hit the one-winged angel on the chair, but Christian countered, hit the kill switch on the chair, pinned Omega to become the brand new Impact Wrestling World Champion. Of course, Christian was a former champion in NWA TNA back in the day. So he has history with the company. I'm cool with this. If they're doing this match at All Out, now you can do champion versus champion at All Out. And now Christian has a win over Omega. And they really brought up the idea that Omega has rarely lost, like he hasn't lost in a year almost. So they made a big deal out of that. And now Christian feels like a much more credible challenger for the pay-per-view. And yes, Mike pointed out in the chat room, Christian did mention WWE, saying that Earl Hebner, because it was Brian Hebner as the referee, said that Earl Hebner would drive him nuts in WWE when he was working there, and he did name drop WWE. So yeah, great match. Big moment with Christian winning. You had the Jurassic Express celebrating with him. And then backstage, Mark Henry interviewed Christian. They had champagne. And Christian put over Omega, saying he was one of the toughest guys he ever wrestled, and said it will nearly be impossible to win the AEW title at All Out, but he will make sure that it happens. He will prevail at the pay-per-view. Ryan says in the chat, 713 days since Kenny lost. That long? I mean, it's been a long time since he's lost a match. Maybe you're right on that one. It's been a very long time. I don't keep track of those stats. I know some people like to, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a while since he's lost a match. He's probably only lost one or two matches in his entire AEW run. It's got to be at least 2 losses, but not many. So we had Mark Henry interview those guys, and then after that, we had a video package for Fuego del Sol, who's something like 1-43 in AEW. We had a match between him and Miro, and the stipulation was that if Fuego del Sol won, he would get a full-time AEW contract. I guess those 40 matches don't count as having a full-time contract. Del Sol went right after Miro, hit a tornado DDT, hit a second one, which sent Miro to the outside, and Miro almost got counted out, but he got back in the ring at 9, and Del Sol hit another tornado DDT, but Miro was able to kick out. Del Sol came off the top rope, Miro caught him, and it was pretty much the end for Del Sol. Miro hit a Mashka kick and then hit the game over, and Del Sol pretty much tapped out immediately from the game over submission. And then after the match, Miro, that mean SOB, ripped up the contract. Great heel heat here, I like it. And then after the commercial break, Del Sol was very sad, but he was standing there with pride. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. And then we had Tony Khan appear on camera with Sammy Guevara. Tony Khan handed Guevara a new contract for Del Sol. The two of them hugged. Sammy got into the ring and said that who cares about the losses? The people love Del Sol, and that's all that matters. And since they are best friends, Sammy Guevara had the honor of saying that Del Sol is officially All Elite. I guess Del Sol gets a participation trophy. But it was a fun moment. It was a nice little feel-good moment for Del Sol. We'll see if anything amounts to him in AEW or not. He's kind of like AEW's Kurt Hawkins, with the huge losses against the 1 or 2 wins. But yeah, it was fine. It was a nice moment. It gets over Sammy Moore as a babyface. We had Sting and Darby Allin shown in the rafters, and then there was a recap of Darby mentioning how he'll be in Chicago for the first dance. That is next Friday night. That's going to be a huge show at the United Center. Stay tuned for that. And we all pretty much know what's going to happen there, but it's going to be a big one for sure. And then we had Mark Henry moderating a little face-to-face final comments from Britt Baker and Red Velvet. And then they had their match. Of course, this was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Britt Baker's hometown, so she was way over. Basically, the babyface in this match. Velvet was kind of acting like a babyface because Britt's arm was in a cast, and Velvet could have stopped on the cast, but she chose not to. Now later, Rebel was distracting her and interfering, so Velvet finally started to get dirty. She took off the cast. Rebel kept trying to distract her, and she got kicked out. Red Velvet went for a moonsault, hit it, but Britt kicked out of that. Britt then came back, hit the curb stomp. Red Velvet kicked out of that. And then Velvet made the mistake that you never want to make. When you go for the other person's finishing move, it always backfires. Always backfires. And sure enough, she went for the lockjaw on Britt, but Britt countered that. And because Britt's arm was hurt, she had to adjust herself and put on the lockjaw using her other arm, her good arm, and that worked out for her. She picked up the victory. And then we had a post-match angle. Chris Statlander got in the ring. She was booed. And then Jamie Hayter, who I did not even recognize. She got in the ring and the announcers were trying to figure out who she was, and I had no idea who it was. At first I was like, is that Becky Lynch? But yeah, it was Jamie Hayter from the UK, and she attacked Chris Statlander, and then Britt Baker hit Red Velvet with the curb stomp, to make everybody know that she's still a heel. Even though she was a baby face in Pittsburgh, she's still technically a heel. I don't think they needed to do this angle at the end in Pittsburgh. Let Britt have her feel-good moment in her hometown. I don't think they needed to do the angle on this particular show. They could have saved it for next week's Dynamite when they're outside of Pittsburgh. I would have just ended it with Britt winning. They didn't need to do the post-match angle. And Jamie Hayter showing up, not a big surprise or anything. So kind of a little bit of a sour ending. I mean, I think they should have saved it and, doing a surprise that really wasn't that big of a deal. But all in all, great show. Really entertaining hour. Flew by very fast, like I said. The game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, it must be bad for Impact to have an AEW talent win their world title when they have no top Impact star to hold their world title. Lame in my opinion. Yeah, but hey, at least it keeps them somewhat relevant, I guess. Anyways, I give the first Rampage an A-. Very entertaining first show. Definitely check out that Impact Wrestling title match. And again, one of the few times the Impact Wrestling title will be relevant. And I like the build for All Out, and they got the tease in for next Friday with the Last Dance. Curtis Butler, Ryan, and Michael Wayne all give it a B, as does Mike B. MVP Kev gives it an A-. Matt Helms sent in another $10 super chat. Thank you for that. Very much appreciated. Calvin Bowman gives it an A+. And Walter Cruz with a generous $10 super chat. Thank you, Walter. Says, happy for Christian, but I'm 38. Honestly ready to see some new stars instead of everyone from when I was coming up. This is like when Hogan, Flair, Savage went too long. Nostalgia is cool and all, but need new people. I would agree if it was the AEW title or even the TNT title, but it's the Impact title, and maybe Impact wants this. Maybe they want Christian as the champion to keep their brand somewhat relevant. But yeah, I mean, ideally Impact would try to make their own stars, but I mean they're way down. They're somehow surviving, but they're glorified indie promotion at this point. So to have Christian as the champion, it elevates Impact a little bit. And it is what it is. I know you're meaning in general terms, but in this case, like, I don't have a problem with Christian being the champ. Future Shocker 16 with a $2 super chat says, just got here, so is Punk or Bryan debuting next week? Well, if I was going to put money down, I'd say CM Punk will be in Chicago next week. Daniel Bryan, I think we'll probably see him in a couple weeks. Possibly All Out, but my gut feeling is you want to let everything with CM Punk set in and let people focus on that for a while. My feeling is Daniel Bryan will debut September, I believe, 25th, that New York episode, Queens, New York. That's the show I think we will see Daniel Bryan debut. If I was going to bet money on it, I say Punk next week, next Friday night, and then Bryan on that first show in New York City. Big way to debut him would be on that show. And give the CM Punk debut some time to breathe. Like, you don't need to throw Bryan right in there at All Out. Let CM Punk's debut sink in with people for a while, and then bring in Bryan after it starts to cool down a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't cool down too much. Hopefully Punk comes in and it's a really big deal for the foreseeable future. So that was Rampage. All in all, fun night, like I said. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate your viewership and support. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest news regarding SummerSlam and all this stuff going on with AEW. Very interesting time in wrestling, and we got a lot more interesting shows to come. So stay tuned for all that. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you all next time.